What's up, fight fans? Your boy P. Welsh here, back for another UFC 315 breakdown, picks, previews, and predictions. Coming off a 7-5 week, had a couple nice reads towards the end of the week. I think one thing about seeing the fights as I break them down on Monday and Tuesday, as it's closer to weigh in, and like when I look at other people's stuff, I really get a gander on what's moving and what's not, and like kind of where things go. And it's been a decent. I'm gonna think about coming out with a best bets video. I've been trying to do a little bit better there. A lot of good reads on some things, and really trying to sharpen up a little bit more here. Starting in UFC Canada, going Brad Katona versus Al Makan Bekzat. Katona 16-4, coming off a loss. Al Makan 11-2, coming off the loss to Umar. First fight in the UFC. I think it was kind of on short notice. Katona here, kind of a vet, 14-6. 1-inch height advantage, 4-inch on the reach for Almacan. And here's the thing. I kind of really like Katona here. I like the experience. I think the longer the fight goes, the better it is for him. Unless this guy, Almacan's going to starch, Katona in round one, I don't necessarily think he might have the volume to go there. And late in the fight, it's gonna be kind of tough. I think Katona's ground game is really, really strong. Right, he's a really good wrestler, can control minutes, probably get some good ground and pound in. I think we'll have an advantage on the feet. We'll go back there, and I'm really kind of picking the Katona side here. I think Canadian start. I think he'll not only look good on the judges' scorecards, but I think he'll fight really well. When I was looking at Almacan's, other fights outside the UFC, nothing too incredible. A lot of knockouts, but it's tough to read that competition, right? And you didn't learn much watching him, punch Umar once and then lose the rest of the fight. So, I think Katona's got a lot of confidence. I think he's really primed for a nice win here, and it's really gonna have. I think we can definitely see a decision, and I kind of like, Brad Katona, like, 29. 28, winning 2 rounds. Almacan will have some moments, maybe win the second round, but Katona really, bite down on the mouthpiece, get a takedown, do some ground and pound, and control it when it matters most here. So I'm kind of going Katona here on the upset. I like Katona money on the decision as well. I think he'll win 2 rounds pretty handily, and I think Almacan, unless he knocks out Katona, I don't really like his win conditions too much here. But solid matchup to start off the card. Very excited. This is a money card here, 315. Top to bottom. I think it might get a little like sweaty towards the top, and a lot of the excitement might happen early on here. We're bringing to you Daniel Santos in the featherweight division against Young Lee. Santos 12-2, coming off a win, 5'7". Young Lee 11-2, standing 5'10", coming off a loss. KO lost to Hyder Amil, 30, 40 straight punches. I think I had High Mill in that fight too. Santos doesn't make the walk to the octagon that much. 5 KO wins, 2 subs, 4 decisions, 2-1 record in the UFC, but a lot of canceled fights throughout his entire career, right? Wins against Johnny Munoz, John Castaneda, lost to Julio Arce in the last 3, and then Lee has a bunch of 2 wins, I think, and then 1 loss to Hyder Amil here, and yeah. I don't really know. This one's really hard to kind of figure out because it's like, does it go to the decision? Maybe. These guys are both tough and both scrappy. Like, they do have KO potential, but are they like evenly matched up to not KO each other? I personally am leaning the Lee side. And I just think even in his loss to Hamil, I think he just got blitzkrieged, and whatever, you take some damage, you get stunned, and you're overwhelmed. It's over. Sometimes that's what happens in the fight game. He's got a nice reach advantage. I think he'll be way more methodical. I just think I do think Santos can have success at range, and that's where he will need to really work. Shoot box Diego Lima training camp, and so there's always like that big potential that, man, who was it? The guy that I don't know if they're the same camp, but man, I just think of the guy that starched Kuda Latse. Just kickboxing from distance. They just have no answer for it. Can't grapple. Can't really outstrike. Just him getting pieced up. And is Daniel Santos gonna, implement something like that? Man, I'm kind of. This one goes back and forth. Like, I really think we can see something like that. It's not like Daniel Santos is a slouch. He just doesn't make the walk to the octagon a lot, right? Is he gonna make weight? You know, does this fight actually happen? To be seen. Like, definitely. Yeah, I don't know. I'm initially leaning Lee just because I feel like you can trust him to, be ready and on point. Um, I like his metrics a little bit, and I think I'm just gonna go Lee here. And this is like, again, I was initially high confidence Lee, but like looking at Daniel Santos, he's no freaking slouch, man. He's a tough boxer. The training that he has, if he's ready to fight and make the walk to the octagon, I really am pretty high on that too. Because like, while Lee is good, I don't think he's day in and day out challenged like the way Daniel Santos has been challenged, even with guys on his freaking canceled bout list for so many years. Like, you're prepping for those things, those times. Right? This was supposed to be Lee, Trevor Peak, which I like. Lee, Gavin Tucker, Lee, Daniel Santos. Let's see what happens, man. This one is really sweaty. Oh, this is like, just stay away. I don't even know what to say sometimes. Wow. We're just gonna pick Lee. And, and I have no confidence in that one. Let's go, baby. Middleweight bout here. People's main event. Marc-Andre Barriault versus Bruno Silva. Barriault 16-9, won no contest, coming off a loss against Bruno Silva, 23-12, coming off a loss, 1-inch height advantage for Marc-Andre Barriault against Bruno Silva. And boy, oh boy, I don't know what to really say here. It's like, do you trust Barriault's chin, who's just been absolutely shattered, 5-8, Stolfskis, Cypher, and anything before that, Eric Anders, Julian Marquez. I really think Silva's live for a KO here. I'm kind of picking Bruno Silva it's like the reverse psychology of confidence. It's just like, all right, is Bruno Silva going to get knocked out? Honestly, he's never been knocked out in his career. Has he been subbed? Absolutely. Yeah, 7 times, but he's never been knocked out. So I kind of think that's where the advantage lies with Marc-Andre Barriault. Like, the loss condition on Bruno Silva, like, he's gonna stand in there and bang. Like, bro doesn't get finished, not by Pereira, not by the Bullet, not you know what I mean. He just don't get finished. So I kind of lean in there. Like, he has said he doesn't want to fight, but like, I also think fighters can get reinvigorated too, because like the same thing with Michelle Olazacek, with the Fighting Nerds, freaking Hazar, fire ass nickname Hazar from its freaking armored horse basically. But Bruno Silva, I'm not saying he's gonna have the same kind of turnaround. He's way later in his career. But I just think he might have a KO in those hands. 15 minutes against Barriault to find one punch might be something that happens. Fight to end round 2. I don't even know. This fight could end round 1. I think it might be a little bit slower. But you never really know, man. But I think I kind of like Bruno here. If I was gonna put like a kind of a heavy underdog big bet, not even like a bet, but just somewhere where I'm like trying to shoot in the dark somewhere, I like Bruno Silva KO. I mean, I think the fight might end by KO, but Barriault never knocking out, or Silva never taking the L on that. And let's be honest, the only 2 KOs on Barriouts are against Julian Marquez and Abu Azaiter, like, not with 4 seconds left to go 4 years ago. So, a bunch of other, so it's been a long time. I think he gets finished, chitty finish. He's not going to really submit him. I kind of like Silva KO here. I like Silva as the underdog. I think Barriault's just a favorite because he's a Canadian at home. Man, I remember the one Canadian card, dude. There was every Canadian lost, it felt like. So I have no faith in them. I do have some faith in some Canadians. I do have faith in some Canadians winning on the card, but this is a spot where I'm going to go fade. I like the underdog here, and for the official pick, I'm going to go Bruno Silva just because, man, sometimes you just like those reverses, like, dude, a 4-fight losing streak versus a 3-fight losing streak. What's going to end first, And just like I said, once the chin gets touched, that's Bruno Silva's win condition. Marc-Andre Barriault's losing condition. It's kind of just something that I kind of like and happening, and hopefully the odds are in our favor there. But we're gonna pick that to happen, baby. Let's go! Pumped up, baby. Let's go. We're going to the light heavyweight division here, ladies and gentlemen. Navajo Sterling, 6-0, coming off a win versus Ivan Urslan, 14-4, and 1 no contest, coming off a loss. Sterling, I think it's his second UFC fight. QT Laba is the loss for Urslan in his UFC debut. Split decision, but I actually think he fairly lost that fight. I think I picked Urslan because I'm a QT Laba hater. And I think I'm going to change the tide on that. But Urslan, I don't even think he won split decision realistically. And then Sterling unanimous against Tukos. And I kind of think that's something we see here. I kind of like Sterling decision. I think the later I think it could go split decision as well. I think this guy Urslan's gonna do a lot of damage. He's gonna have a lot of potential, but I think Sterling can win round 1, maybe round 2, and then this fight could even become a draw, man. I haven't seen a draw in what, but I could see 2 wins for Sterling and then 10-8 Urslan. Something absolutely wild. Just because I feel like Urslan has a puncher's chance, Sterling's really calculated from distance. So like if he can put it on, and then all of a sudden if Urslan like knows he needs to turn it on, really just get him bad, but like can't get him out just because he's kind of gassed and gets in a bad position. It's very hard to call 10-8 rounds, but on this scorecard with a draw, Shevchenko, Grasso, a lot of refights, Kutilaba, Urslan, a lot of people have fought one another on the card. Something fishy could be happening here, especially like minus 300. It's one of those spots where like I like Sterling a lot, and I really like him in this matchup too. But like something just feels a little off. So I don't know. Urslan's a live dog for sure. I like Sterling by decision because I think that's just probably the most comfortable way. Like we expect him to finish somebody, but maybe that comes in a little bit more experience. Being very cautious, kind of like not the Mayweather intent, but just the least damage. Don't get hit. If you have to point them up, be better than them. You're younger than them. You're faster than them. And, you got the striking. So that's really what wins first in MMA, and especially if you can't work takedowns, if you can, especially at distance, got the length, got the strength. So I think a lot of people are on Sterling KO. I don't really think so. I think it's a lot closer fight, too. And I really like Sterling by decision here. It's, something that I think a lot of people are on Sterling KO. So we might get something pretty decent on it. But I definitely see, fight going over a little bit, though. Was 1.5 kind of moving in the line, moving up a little bit. I've been kind of paying attention to that, so I kind of like Sterling by decision. I can see it very close. This is also another one I'm waiting to see the plus 3.5s on the underdogs, because I think that's going to smack all day today or this weekend. I think a lot of underdogs on the 3.5, especially later in the card, like starting with Katona, leave a bunch of them in the middle, Radke potentially. I like Grasso as a lot of the underdogs with the points, even Maddalena too at the end. So we'll talk about that kind of stuff later. But Sterling decision here, maybe end it late, but I think Urslan will probably rally late. He didn't look like a pup tent in the and against Cutie Laba. He showed a lot of heart. It was a close fight. He did have a lot of good moments. I remember because I remember a lot of the losses too. So let's go Sterling here. Let's see what Aslan has. Maybe, late Aslan KO, 3rd round. But really think, like I said, I kind of see it more going 10-8, if anything, if it gets that bad. But Sterling will probably hold his own, get a 29-28 Sterling decision. Let's go, baby. Light heavyweight bout, Mutias Bukakis. 17-6 coming off a win versus Ion Kutilaba. 19-10-1. 1 draw, 1 no contest. 2-inch height advantage, 1-inch reach advantage for Bukakis versus Kutilaba. And I'm on the Kutilaba train here. I'm over kind of fading him a little bit. I kind of just doubted him because he was trolling, from back in the day. And like I said, I think he was kind of not fortunate. I think he really won this. He really beat Aslan. He finished Urslan, lost to Linz, but Linz is a monster at light heavyweight compared to Kutilaba, and plus they cut freaking Linz right after that. So, the big knockout artist is that Bukakis, like Zinchenko, Walker, Span. You know what I mean? Walked into some losses, and then Ankalaev, but fought really good competition. Wow, freaking the last guy I watched last fight, he called freaking Bukakis fight the giant douche versus the turd sandwich, and Bukakis was the giant douche. So going Kutilaba, man. He's just been against some wars against some great fighters. I think he's primed to get another win. Maybe not a finish, but I think he's got a good chance to knock him out. I think he can get in there. I think he's way faster, way more athletic. I think Bukakis is a little awkward in there. Hasn't, like I said, he's been on a couple fight winning streaks, but Cucurella and Marcin Petrino got checked hooked by Pracino. All the guys that he beat are out of the UFC. So Kutilaba is just a certified veteran. Maybe it's a decision too. Maybe like Kutilaba decision. I also really like here where it kind of gets a little bit boring, but he's a little bit bigger. I don't know if he'll be able to get up the finish on him, but yeah, just something that both these guys are live for the finish, but both have kind of seen one of those things. I kind of can see they're probably pretty competitive, so it could be a little spicy. We might throw something in there, but I like QT Laba here. If he doesn't get the finish, I think he wins on the scorecards. One of those spots in the pick'em spots this week. I really like him, and the other one I almost want to even go the opposite way, but we picked Lee, sticking with Lee, going QT Laba here, decision, maybe late, but a lot of these guys have early finishes, 1-1-2, so that's like one of those things. It's like, round one, round two, so we'll see what happens. That's why I think both guys are kind of close. Both guys don't really knock each other out. And this one goes to the scorecard. QT Laba with the edge. Next up, women flyweight ranked bout. Jessica Andrade versus Jasmine Jasdervicius. Andrade, 26-13. 16th ranked flyweight. Jasdervicius, 12th ranked flyweight. I don't know. Those are on the other. They don't have their numbers. Why don't they have their numbers on here, UFC? Help me. But 6-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage, 3 inches on the legs for Jasdervicius, and yeah, I like Jasdervicius here. I really want to pick Andrade. I think they're at a good point where they've got action on the books where it's just gonna stay here. I like Andrade. And not Andrade. I do like her, but not in here. Like Jasdervicius, she kind of reminds me of a little Jillian Robertson-esque, where she's just kind of pretty complete. Ground game, punching, ground and pound, takedowns, control, striking, distance. Just really good prospect, really solid. Just really good fighter. I think prospect 36. You know what I mean? But like contender, I think she has a chance to. It might be kind of tough to get the finish here. She's not the most live for a finish against pretty good fighters, but I think she's definitely going to get the win here. I think she's live for maybe a submission. Is probably more likely than anything else. Is probably where I would maybe take a little sprinkle on something. I just think she'll have a lot of opportunities, and the ground and pound. I think Andrade will protect herself there and just give up something in the choke department. Or it's just I really like Jasdervicius here. I think she wins every way, which way to Sunday, however she wants. I think she's alive for a decision, a sub. TKO, not necessarily, because I don't know if Andrade gets finished like that, but we just seen her give up straight on her. Just get taken down and just have nothing left. Blanchfield, Suarez, just only checked hook by, they only knocked out by Jan. So it's not like she's really, she basically had a crucifix against Shevchenko. She just really just has not much from the terms of ground game. So Jasdervicius win. Jasdervicius by submission. 4 losses in Andrade's career. 3 wins for Jasdervicius. Could be a big moment at home. It's something that everybody's like the women's fights go to decision. I agree a lot. This one could very well as well, but something about Andrade just kind of going in there, getting tapped out, and getting a paycheck, and we'll see you in 3 months is something. She'll go fight somebody. Jasdervicius, let's go, baby. Into the feature prelim of the evening, Mike Mallet, 11-2-1, coming off a win against Charles Radke, 10-4, coming off a win. Mallet, 3-4 inches on the height, 1 inch on the reach, and Radke coming in here, coming off a win. Mallet's loss came to Magny 2 fights ago. Trevin Giles, coming off that knockout loss late. Always a little tentative coming back. And Radke coming in here 10-4. Win over Semi the Jedi. Lost to Prates, which we all had coming. And, knockout win over Urbina before that. And I don't understand why Mike Mallett's such a strong favorite here. I think this fight can end in round 1, round 2, fight to end by KO. Might be tough to. I kind of like Radke. Like I said, I like a lot of underdogs this week. Radke KO probably be something I really want to sprinkle in there somewhere too. It's like I like Mike Mallet, but I don't want to trust him. Not like I really want to trust Radke with my money either, but like just something that you can see happening is just like, man, if it maybe lay off the side and pick this fight to end by KO, because yeah. That was like the first time Mike Mallett's been outside the 3rd round and won. Radke's got a lot of finishes, but also has been finished. And, yeah, it's just one of those things. I think there's violence in this fight. I think these guys let it hang out. And I think Radke could eventually just hit Mallet with something, in kind of control, hit him. knock him down, ground and pound over in 10 seconds. I really like Radke here. I think Radke's my pick. Kind of fading Mallet. I don't know if I don't think he's as good as he is. Like, honestly, he kind of needs to go. Like, I know it's tough to tell people to go down the leg, but he's just, dude, it's like Mike Mallett's a 165 guy. Prime example of a welterweight that should be at 165. And one of the things I'll always clamor for the UFC to change is to go to at least one more weight division, just because it is just some of these guys I think can cut the extra 5 to 6 pounds. It's really and go down and really compete. Both of these guys could be a cruiser or a bruiser weight belt, whatever you want to call it. Just retire the welterweight division at some point and just split them up into 175, 185, 205. We don't need 195s. The heavier guys are not as plentiful in the prospect pool. They play other sports that are more lucrative. But for these smaller guys, I think we need one more weight class. And I think Radke might win this. I'm picking Radke here. I like Radke KO. I think we'll get a lot of stuff later. We'll get a lot of decisions later. Because I can see QT Laba decision, Sterling decision, 1 KO decision. So realistically, I got Bruno Silva potential. And we had Jester Vicious sub, and this is our second KO, kind of really big pick. I like that. So I like Radke KO here on the upset. On to the main card, lightweight bout. Benoit Saint Denis, 13-3 against Kyle Propalik, 12-7. Saint Denis coming off the loss to Moicano. Is that 2 straight losses? Moicano, no, Moicano and Poirier against Kyle Propalik on short notice. Yeah. Yeah, give me the fight doesn't go to the distance. Benoit Saint Denis. Propolik's got 10 KO losses, so like maybe if you're afraid of minus 1,000 Saint Denis and maybe has he been finished twice? I like Saint Denis maybe on the finish here. I think he'll go in there and grapple, not try and take damage, and maybe just get the better of him. I think he truly is more of a grappler than a striker. Right, he kind of gets a strike, takes him down, and does ground and pound. I like Saint Denis sub here. I'm not super high on it, not super confident on it. I think Propolik's can do some damage, but I think when Propolik's going to go in there, Saint Denis is going to take him down, and eventually he'll work him over. Saint Denis submission 1-2 maybe. I don't think Saint Denis fights really last that long, so I wouldn't plan on it going to the scorecards. Definitely just take the under 2.5 if you really think about it, or fight not to start round 3 is something that I always like to do. But yeah, sub. I really think he can also maybe not get his back, but take him down and arm triangle if he's doing some damage with the ground and pound, and Propalik give up something else. But yeah, I like Saint Denis here inside the distance submission. Let's go, baby. Women's flyweight contender bout. Alexa Grasso, 16-4-1 coming off the loss to Shevchenko against Natalia Silva, 18-5-1 coming off the win on a streak. And, Grasso here, 1 inch on the height, 1 inch on the reach, 1.5 on the legs. And I don't know how she's a massive underdog. Started as a pick'em fight and is bet up, swelled. Grasso is closing in on plus 200, and this is a Grasso spot all day. And this is, again, if I'm afraid to take her money line, maybe I'm 1,000% on Grasso plus the points on the books wherever you get it. I don't understand how she's a massive underdog. I understand. Okay, I get what the fighting nerds are saying, that Silva at distance, Silva movement, Silva striking, her kicks, the activity. Grasso looked uninspired in a championship fight. I think she's primed for a rebound. I just think it's one of those things that, like, how are we getting a massive prospect under, like, minus money against a proven veteran that's like, look, Renier de Ritter last week. It's one of those things that, like, come on, like, we're just going to eat ourselves up that we didn't see it more. Like, Grasso could get a finish here. I think she's going to win on the scorecard. I think it'd be pretty close on the scorecard, but I think she'll win. I think I'm on Grasso here. I like the plus money. I think that is something that isn't indicative of the fighters that are going to enter the octagon. And if she's fired up and ready to go, and she's a better fighter. Silva has maybe more skill, but there's more than skill that goes into the fight game, especially when the octagon closes and you've been in there against some other people. And really, the thing about Silva is, like, has she been tested with adversity, right? Has she been challenged? And I think Grasso is going to be the first woman to present that to her. Grasso's big, man. She's a heavy hitter. She can do some damage, take her down, control the fight. I got Grasso all day, man. I can't believe it's not staying more of a pick'em. I can't believe people are laying so much juice with Natalia Silva. I understand her skill set. I understand her technical ability. But, and Grasso's that's a lot of cage time against a lot of talent. And even you can argue that she didn't win the draw. You can argue that she caught Shevchenko in the submission. Yeah, granted. And outside of that, what has she done recently? Fair point. But yeah, I got Grasso here. I mean, I could be wearing the dunce cap, red nose next week, but I'm not gonna go pick Silva. I'm so tired of seeing these minus 200 prospects against proven veterans that are just underdogs because like that's what the number is given on the sports book. I don't think that's indicative. I get why it's bet up to where it is. I understand why the line movement is the way it is, but I understand. You got to understand when you go watch Alexa Grasso, she is a supremely talented women's fighter and been in a lot of training, a lot of wars, and a lot of preparation. New challenger, new opponent. I like Grasso by decision here. Kind of like a little Moreno style. Remember Moreno fought Figgy all those times. Kind of had the, he did have the KKF fight in there, but had to refresh after like a trilogy fight and a loss. Kind of get in there, refresh. This is to me Grasso all day, and I will be backing her. Let's go, baby. I think she goes by the decision too. I don't think that fight's a finish. I think it's Grasso by decision. Bantamweight bout. Jose King of Rio Aldo 32-9 coming off a loss versus Ayman Zahabi 12-2 coming off a win. 1 inch height advantage, 1.5 inches on the reach. I remember reading the metrics and watching one of the fights that the guys were even and the one guy was like way taller. I was like, how did the UFC give me those heights? So take everything with a grain of salt. I like Zahabi here. I think this fight's going decision. I think this fight will be at distance. I don't think Aldo will throw a lot of kicks. I don't think he'll land a lot of kicks. Zahabi's incredibly hard to hit. He's really improved the more and more he goes. I really think he believes in his training with his, I don't know if his brother or I think it's his brother. Ross. GSP is going to be in his corner. I just think he's just hitting his prime, dude. All those training sessions, and I just think Aldo has holes in his game, man. At this point in his career, they tell you he's whatever age. He's probably plus 2 years on top of that. All the fights, just the volume. It just hasn't been there. I think he caught Martinez on a bad night, lost to Robbie Font. I don't know. I like Zahabi here. I think Zahabi plus the points is easy. I think there's a very close fight. I think this is where the judges on the scorecards favor the Canadian versus on some places they don't. But I just think he's getting better and better. The Basharat win was amazing. Munoz just absolutely diced him up. Ariki Lang starched him up. Ricky Turkios, he's just been on a roll. I think he's getting way better. He's staying active, but not super happy because I think another spot where the name is carrying what you see on the number. I don't like what I see on the number in terms of I don't necessarily think that's right. So I like Zahabi here. Again, give me the points. Zahabi decision. I think this is a fight at distance. These guys won't take a single takedown. Maybe there will be like a takedown if they're up against the fence. I can see Zahabi trying to like get him down and then really have like a controlling moment. But yeah, I like Zahabi here. I think he's gonna get a win. I think unfortunately, I want to see Jose Aldo win. He lost me money against freaking what's his face Batista, even though I thought he won, but that fight was just criminal. I think we'll see something similar at the worst, but I think Zahabi's way more skilled on the fence. He'll take him down. He'll do way more in the clinch. I think he'll do a lot more damage, and I like Zahabi here, plus money. Easy, not even easy money. It's just like it's just more of like, again, like how I love Jose Aldo, but like sometimes if he's just held against the fence, he just gives up. Right? Merab did the same thing. Piotr Yan starched him. I think Zahabi's got a lot of advantages here, striking wise, distance control. He's just tough to hit too. Tough to hit, so. And even if he does get hit on the legs and can take some damage, I think he does and goes more control. Zahabi here, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, It's time! The co-main event. Women flyweight title bout. Valentina the Bullet Shevchenko versus Manon Fiorot. I think her name is like Beast or something. I don't remember. The Beast, yeah. 24-4-1 for Shevchenko, coming off the win against Grasso, getting the belt back. Fiorot, title fight debut, 12-1. About a fight a year. Just got her first 5-round fight against Blanche last year. Otherwise, this would be Blanche. Win against Namajunas. And, yeah, a lot of decision wins. So expect this fight to go to the... I don't know, man. I don't know. I love Shevchenko, man. I'm just such a fan. Such a fan of Shevchenko. I don't want to pick against her, but Fiorot's a beast. Fiorot's a beast. She's really... But is that going to be enough? Or is it going to be one of those things like when the champion comes out in second, third, fourth, fifth round, they just show their dominance? Fiorot round 1, then Shevchenko the rest of the way? I don't know, man. She struggles against the bigger opponents, that's for sure. She definitely struggles, and if she can't take down Fiorot, I can definitely see Fiorot's path to victory. Right? Like, I do think Grasso was outclassing her on the feet. What did win was the takedowns in the last one. Is she going to be able to get them? I don't know. I kind of like Fiorot here. I think I'm going to pick Fiorot for Nnu, just because I just think it's one of those things. The matchup on the given night, if you're not at your best level, you're not going to win. Like, this is for the title, and if you're not at your best, and Shevchenko hasn't been at her best. A draw, a loss before that, and then she was at her best. So two bad fights, and then your best on your third time. I don't know if she gets 3 times against Fiorot, right? I don't know. I'm picking Fiorot here. I'm a Shevchenko guy, though. I'll be rooting for Shevchenko, but let's just pick Fiorot, and that way it covers us here. And I just worry about the distance striking. I worry about the inability to take her down. Fiorot's just not one of those girls that has, it kind of a little bit of like a Raquel Pennington, where she'll just even win split decision, where she'll win 2 fights and maybe somebody gives it to Shevchenko, very close. But yeah, I got Fiorot here by decision. Let's go, baby. To the main event of the evening, welterweight title bout. Bilal, remember the name, Bully B. Muhammad versus Jack Della Maddalena. Bilal Muhammad 24-3 on an incredible winning streak. Jack Della Maddalena 17-2 on an impressive win streak himself. Beating Gilbert Burns, come from behind, round 3 victory. Kevin Holland, Basil Hafez, finishing Randy Brown. Bilal Muhammad, resume equal as good. Gilbert win there. Sean Brady, Leon Edwards, Vicente Luque, Wonderboy, Damian Maia. Unbelievable matchup. Unbelievable square off. Man, I'm picking Bilal Muhammad. I'm never not picking against Bilal Muhammad again. He's just I really respect him, and I don't like how I haven't picked him enough in my past, and doubt mainly because he fought Gilbert, right? But I also kind of doubt him a little bit against Sean Brady back in the day. But I want to believe in Jack Della Maddalena, and I understand that Bilal Muhammad said he's not going to take down, and he's going to show those Canelo hands, and I believe him. I think Jack's going to shoot for a takedown at some point. I think he's going to get desperate. I think he's got some of the best boxing in the UFC, but I think Bilal has got something different, bro. He's got game, bro. And I think at the end of the day, we will remember the name. And this isn't a proclamation like it was with Gary. This isn't something like that. I'm just picking... I could definitely see... I don't want to see Bilal get finished, right? I definitely just want to see this fight probably goes to the scorecard. That was kind of JDM's finish condition. He's got to finish. That's his win condition. I think he's got to knock him out. I think he's got to get him. I think Bilal wins in 5 rounds. I think he's that good at switching stances. I think he's that good at controlling the fight. I think he'll put him on the fence. I think he'll get him in the clinch. I think he'll get him with some dirty boxing. I think Bilal is going to come in there absolutely fired up and ready to go. Dodging Shavkat, coming in there against Maddalena is, I don't want to say strategic, but just fortunate. I think a lot of that shakes out over time. And I think Bilal Muhammad, I think he's got a lot of opportunities to look really well. And even if he does take him down, he goes, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do to win. You know what I mean? And he takes him down and then he finishes him. What does it freaking matter? Oops, that's like I got Bully B, man. And I do think Jack can win. I think Jack inside the distance is maybe the best way for it to happen. Just because I can see Jack absolutely catching Bully B and putting his lights out. Just like a straight left. Just like I think Jack's got that ability to catch somebody. I really do. I think he does. I think it could be walk-off KO. I think that's what the welterweight division brings to the table. It's a killer be killed. And we haven't had that moment since Edwards, and sometimes we're kind of primed for one of those. It feels like we haven't had a big finish in a title fight in a while, right? We had Topuria Holloway. Jones Miocic. JDM over Bilal. I don't know, man. I could definitely see it happening. I got this like straight left from JDM down the gullet, and just as Bully B's like switching stances, transferring over into something else, and he just catches him. Really is what worries me in this matchup. I am especially about putting money on Bilal Muhammad, right, or the over to go to the decision. That's like the biggest thing that scares me is just like, dude, when guys get desperate, like, man, they let it go. I think JDM is that guy to let it go sometimes. I could definitely see an end new with him. I'm not picking it. I clearly think Bilal is way better. I think he trained. I just think Bilal is just. I'm a Gilbert Burns fan. Like, Gilbert's my guy, and he fought both these guys. And I know he got hurt against Muhammad, but Muhammad stuffed that takedown to hurt Gilbert. Kind of like the same thing. But Gilbert just was gassed, and he should have just reset. Instead, he just shot a stupid takedown and got kneed. Caught him. That's why I think JDM has that ability. Just late in the fight, if a guy makes a mistake, all it takes is one punch. That's the fight game. Picking Bully B. We'll do a quick recap. Extended video. A lot to talk about. Great fight card. A lot of opportunity. I did write down a few more things that I thought was going to happen. A little bit more on the betting angles that I think I'm going to try and track and see the numbers over time. I already missed one number that I liked on one little over prop, but we're going to go from there. Wait till maybe just do a little bit something, but maybe do a second video on Friday night or something after the weigh-ins and figure out what we like there. So let's do a quick recap. Excited. 12 fights, I think, on the card. Started. I think a lot of upsets. I think a lot of underdogs come through today. I think there'll be a decent amount of finishes, a lot of decisions. Brad Katona, decision win. Going Jung Lee. Got Bruno Silva, KO. Sterling, decision. Kufti Laba, probably decision. Jazz Dervicius, sub, decision. Radke, KO. Saint Denis, submission. Grosso by decision. Zahabi, decision. Pierrot by decision. And Bilal Muhammad by decision. Like, comment, subscribe. Pick your winners in the comment section. $100 if you pick all 100% correct. Thank you guys so much for liking, supporting the videos, making it this far. Peace and love. Take care of yourself, your friends, and your family. Thank you so much for watching.